Let's see. Okay, so today I'm joined by Harry Thomas, and so rather than do any intros whatsoever, because we're going to do this cold, I would like to just say welcome, Harry. I believe that you and I met once, or almost met, or I was speaking and you were there, and so forth, but I don't know where that fits into the chronology of how you've got to where you've got to. So instead, give us an overview of what's happened in your life to have got you to this moment here, and what are we going to be talking about today?
Amazing. First of all, thank you for having me on. And I still remember your talk. It was about 8 years ago. So that's kind of a part of the journey. So I guess to sum me up quite quickly, I'm from the health and fitness background. I've been a personal trainer for about 16 years. Set up my first gym 11 years ago now in 2009. And we've ran 2 gyms since then for the last 11 years. But in that time, we then set up the academy, because we started noticing that people within the fitness industry coming in for interviews weren't at a good standard at all, like very poor actually. And it was disappointing because I'm a personal trainer, they're a personal trainer, and the association is just the same, but we're so different. So we just thought, why don't we just set up our own academy and we start training people based on our experiences, and we take the good ones. And then that just expanded. And that whole time, I was learning about business, learning about just the London lifestyle. And I also then got into a bit of trouble, had a breakdown because I took on too much. And at the time I thought business was easy. I had 2 side hustles, doing really well, and got done for fraud massively online. And if you think your credit card details are safe, I learned a thing or two back then. And then at the same time, I had another, like an events company running, and I had a friend working for me from a long time ago, and he was stealing. But I was in such a bad place that I just kind of just let go of everything. And yeah, things just got on top of me. Had a breakdown, got arrested stupidly for being drunk. And this kind of was a period where I was just working. I say I was working hard, but I got lost. At weekend was my escape. And then it was just this circle of just all these things getting on top of me. And yeah, it ended up Tenerife. I ended up in a cell. And it was like a Hollywood movie. I don't remember how I got in there. I was in my shorts. I was in there for 40 hours. I got charged, or I got, they said that I tried attempted robbery of a car, hot wiring and stuff. And I knew at that point, I don't know how to. So I just think I was a drunk British lad abroad that ended up wrong place, wrong time, but I had no control of my life at all. And the amount of people that it let down, my business partner, my mum, had to call her up and say, I'm stuck in a cell. So yeah, it was a big wake up call. I gave up alcohol, and I've been 3.5 years since then, haven't touched it. But I found meditation, and then my whole life went in a completely new direction. So wow. Where I am now a life coach. I was getting coaching initially, and I thought I was a good coach, but I realized I was never coaching. I was just telling you how to lose weight, and I was telling you how to build your business, but that was my agenda. As soon as I went on my coaching, I realized, wow, all you need to do is listen and ask questions. And yeah, my whole approach to things changed. Like, I'm now so particular with my words. I'm listening to every single word that people say. And I can correct people and change people's mindset in just that one session, because they come in and say, I want to lose weight. I might do this and I hope to this and I don't want to do that. I'm like, can I just stop you? Why do you want to? If you change want to will, yeah. I will lose 20 kilos and I start now. And that will is a command to your body. It's a commitment.
That's right.
As soon as you call people out on the words, like, you either say yes or no. And that's the most important thing. You can then say no.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Wow, what a story. I must admit, in the last year or two of running Academy conversations, I have noticed somewhat of a hero's journey or monomyth journey that, to quote kind of Joseph Campbell to some extent, of how there seems to be the kind of phoenix from the flames moment after the lowest after the lowest parts. And I find it always inspirational to hear. And your story is something that I reckon that a lot of people watching this and listening to this will probably relate to, wherever they are in their journey. They may actually relate to the part before the breakdown, if you like. There's a lot of habitual alcoholics, or there's a lot of habitual abusers of their own selves who aren't necessarily conscious of that. And I certainly have. My preferred way of sabotaging myself was trusting the wrong people, and I have certainly suffered the downsides of that, and which is well reported in these conversations. So no one who's watching this will need a repeat of that stuff, because this is more about you than me. But tell me, when you had the moment in time that you specifically tried meditation for the first time, did you have any, because there's a lot of people who watch this, and people have commented to me occasionally across the years, oh, I tried meditation and I found it boring, or I was just lying there and nothing seemed to happen. And I think there's also some kind of sadly westernized mutation of what meditation really is. And there's a lot of, I think, misunderstanding of what the point is. People are kind of waiting for something to happen from it, as if it's like, I do 50 sit-ups every morning and watch what I eat and expect after 10 days there's going to be some difference. And actually, you're probably right. But if you meditate, I think people are waiting for an outcome, rather than realizing the outcome's already there. It's just all the other noise that needs to be removed. So what happened when you first experienced this? What was the range of emotions?
The first one, I went on this mindfulness course, and this very hippie guy with no shoes on called Doug made me hold a prune. And I had to be present and smell the prune. I'm like, is a prune. And at the end of the session, he said, right, we're going to do this thing called meditation. And I was like most people do, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I remember I woke up, I'm like, oh my God, my leg went. He went, no, you were snoring, and I just had to grab your leg and wake you up. So that was my first experience. But at the same time, my client introduced me to Deepak Chopra. And it was a 21 3-day meditation. And it was the very first one I listened to. And he always says like a short 5-minute analogies. And that's how I love to learn. And he said something, and it's stuck with me ever since. When you're walking down the road and you get a stone in your shoe, there's no thought. You just go and grab the stone out and go. So he said, when you're walking down the road, you get an anxious thought in your head, really, you should just go. But we don't know how to. So that stays in there like the shoe, but then you get a blister, and then it starts manifesting into more problems because you're not functioning optimally. So that was just like, oh my God, you can control them. And then every day he was just saying things that I could relate to a bit more. Really? And now my mission now is to redefine meditation and to really say, look, let's just lose the word meditation because it's met with so much resistance.
Yeah.
And I think it's been explained very wrong down the years.
I agree.
But I think call it some time out for yourself. Like literally no distraction for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And we do things backwards. I think we always want things now. Everything's a rush. Mm-hmm. But if you got good at meditation, because most people don't have time at it, it will make you more time efficient, which you'll have more time in your life to enjoy it.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things that I wrote about in Powered by Change, in the Powered by Change book, was that was called Attention Management Matrix. And basically it's a recording of all the things that you do in your life, like every 5 minutes. So understanding what you're spending your time really doing. And then actually categorizing that in terms of energy that it takes and versus energy that it gives. And then working out which parts you need to maximize, minimize, avoid, and apply yourself to. And one of the things that's amazing is that 100% of the people that I've ever done the Attention Management Matrix with are shocked by the amount of time that they are using for things that aren't in any way giving of any positivity to themselves, but is costing themselves a great deal. But they are the same people who say that they haven't got enough time to do X, or they've just run out of time in the day. Um, from your perspective, was your relationship with time different before and after this kind of the moment in your life, the switch in your life? How did you perceive time before the change?
Yeah, so I guess it goes in with my concept I created of just the notion of past, present, and future. And the time disappears when we're not present. Yeah. So we're always told that time goes faster when we get older. It's not. We just go more unconscious. So our day just goes past without us realizing. As a kid, you're subconscious and everything is an experience. So you remember, you hear the words, you remember the lyrics, you remember smells. If we just stayed that present the whole time, you'll remember more. So that when that hit me, I'm now remembering. I had the worst memory because I used to say I've got a bad memory.
There you go.
and it's like these things. So I think the notion of time is that time is the same anyway. The sun goes up and comes down. That doesn't change. It's how we deal with the time in there. And when someone said, make the most of every moment. So let's say that your kids are going on holiday and they're leaving you. They're going to go to Brazil and they're going to move away. You've got the last day with them.
Yeah. You're
going to be there. And I guarantee you'll remember that day for the rest of your life.
Absolutely right. Why do you think it is? Why is it that people time travel so much and we spend so much time living in the past or reliving the traumas of the past or living in a potential scenario of the future? Why do we have a reliance on time travel despite the fact that it doesn't actually really serve us other than to actually hold us back?
Lack of education, understanding. I don't think it's been. If we go back to the Vedic traditions, they've been telling us for a long time that like the Taoisms, you've mentioned two things, the phoenix and energy. If we literally looked at everything from an energy perspective, you'd make your decisions easily. Yep. Does that feel heavy or does that feel light? Oh, if it feels heavy, I've got more questions and I'll break it down a bit more.
Totally.
That's as simple as we can do it, I believe. And you can't argue with it because when I'm talking to my clients now, and I'm asking them to tell me about the 4 job opportunities. I'm saying, can I make an observation? When you spoke about that one, you lit up.
Yes.
You can't argue with your energy. Your energy is truth. And people's ego always hide it. I'm calling them out on it. I can see it. Good. And you can't even see it yourself.
Good. I love that. I love the fact that that's you're enabling people to become more consciously aware of what they are and who they are. I think there's in my 2013 TED talk, I spoke about signal versus noise, and the fact that I used the term in that talk. I used the term instinct, and funnily enough, in the last 7 years since then, or 8 years, I think I now realize that what I meant was energy. I called it instinct, but I don't differentiate too much between them because, you know, when I say to people, oh, so you met up with X, Y, and Z for coffee, how did it make you feel? How did you feel afterwards? Did you feel elated? Did you feel normal? Did you feel tired? Did you feel awake? Did you feel inspired? And funnily enough, it's quite easy for people to feel the impact of energy. Even if they're not aware of it at the time, they can look back and think, well, this is how I felt. But of course, even then we have these biases, the prison guards, as Viktor Frankl would say, the prison guards of our thoughts that will modify things to suit this judge and jury or prison guard of our thoughts. How do you personally, and also with your clients, deal with the fact that there are these heuristics and biases that seem to overrule and hide things? How do you you point things out, you call people out? How else do you give them the tools to work with that?
I think we can strip it right back. So the words that we use, and if you think about or in the English language alone, there's 126 words for deception. So it's a deceptive language. We use words like nice, but it doesn't actually mean nice at all. Or I work with cancer patients and they're looking for a cure, but the actual cure means to preserve. So it's actually a bad vibration that we're putting out there. So if we literally just paid attention to the words that we use. So never forget, always remember.
Yeah.
And you can just flip it every time now I have a conversation. I know I'm putting some positivity in there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question to you. If I only use positive words, or even collectively 90% of my language was positive, can I be an unhappy, negative person?
And that's a great question, because personally, I believe that it's extremely difficult to be unhappy and negative if you are if you're using an architecture that is more positive. Certainly, if you're I've realized that if you hurt yourself and you force yourself to start laughing, it is the world's greatest pain relief. It beats any ibuprofen or anything else you could take. Equally, if something is really, really, really happy that's happening, and you do not allow yourself to smile, you force yourself to keep the frown on, what happens is the happiness tends to diminish itself. And I've always been fascinated by the fact that our body doesn't know the difference between a thought and an actual experience. So our body, as far as our body is concerned, our genetic alignment is it will take a memory, or it will take a thought, and it will actually then program itself around it. And which is why I'm always dismayed when people say, oh, well, I'm not really good with numbers. Because then what's happening is they're actually already programming their brain to be bad at numbers. And it's like, you could actually change this, you know, but it's tough. But then again, to with respect to those people watching, and I know that that's the type of comment that when I say that, people go, but actually there are people who are just really bad at numbers. And I'm not saying that people don't have abilities and less abilities. What I'm saying is that we oftentimes can promote a negativity by not only the language that we use, but also the thoughts that we think.
Yeah. And think of your inner body as this genie. Whatever you ask for will come true.
Yeah.
And if you literally close your eyes, the world is not existent anyway, so it's just your thoughts. That's so right. I think we do life backwards. We think first. So for example, I smell food, that's a thought, I get hungry. I see a woman, I get horny. I see someone I don't like, I get angry. Thought first, feeling second.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, if I closed my eyes and literally said, think about the end of your fingers, then they tingle. So you're actually in control of all your feelings. So if you're searching for happiness and love, like they say, that makes me happy, but what is happiness? It's a feeling.
That's right. This is a great, I'm really, you know what, bizarrely, and we are extraordinarily harmonious on a lot of these points, which is brilliant that you outreached for a chat. I wanted you to actually get onto this point naturally, and I'm glad you have. One of my favorite books of recent times is Happy by Derren Brown. And the subtitle fantastically is along the lines of why everything is more or less okay. And essentially what it is a dedication to Stoicism. That's what it actually is. It's a Stoic handbook for the modern era. It's taking from Epictetus and Seneca to John Locke to Bentham. Originally, arguably, it's taking from Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, but it's really in the Epictetus Seneca camp of Stoicism. And I think that there is what's very good about Derren's book is that it describes happiness very carefully along the lines less of something that is an accidental byproduct and more along the lines of what's a choice. And in fact, he is, because of course Derren Brown is evidently extremely stoic if stoics can be extreme. And I think his main point, which I really admire in this, is that it is the searching for this enviable happiness that apparently exists, where everything in life is absolutely brilliant and nothing ever goes to shit. It is the searching of that is the illusion that forces us to almost never be able to achieve said happiness. And if it weren't for the fact that existed as this search, we would actually be able to see that pretty much everything's okay. And that's the whole book. For those who don't want to read it, that's 90,000 words in 20. But so I wanted your take on whether do you feel as if one of the not a curse, but one of the human conditions is our search for something that is almost always comparative to well, they've got that car, they're happier, or I'd be happier if I had X more money, or I'd be happier if I had this type of job. You must hear that all the time with your clients.
Yeah, I think it's because how many people do you generally know that's really happy?
Very, very few. And all of them have the same, very, very similar mindset, however, and it's this type of mindset.
So there's one. So happiness is very hard to find. How many people do you know generally happy and a game plan for life?
Well, exactly. Very few, because that's one. I think your alignment there is very, very wise. There is people who expect absolutely everything to happen against a plan will probably end up being either extremely unhappy, or people who have a plan that they can flex and go, oh, okay, well, actually this happened, and therefore I can readjust my thoughts around this outcome. Then obviously they can become more happy. I personally use the word content now more, and I certainly use the word fulfilled, but my primary word I now use is peaceful. So I've actually degraded the happiness wording to a sense my ultimate state of feeling is one of peace, where there's no disharmony and no conflict. And if I can feel that the most, I tend to feel that the most when I'm meditating, especially on a beach. That seems to remove any wanting or desire of any other state other than that peace. And I become less of a self. I remove an ego that seems to be this Jonathan MacDonald character that has a history, a past of abuse as a child, and a failed marriage, and a criminal business partner, and all the other story stuff, the storylines. And then actually when that's removed, suddenly there's this vessel which is connected ineluctably to nature. And in fact, it's meaningless as a vessel. It's purely just a channel that is linked to the trees and the stars and the sand. And that's when I feel peaceful. And because of that, bizarrely, the feeling of happiness I sense more and more and more to be artificial. And the feeling of peace I sense to be more and more natural. And I mean that literally. How about you?
Yeah, I'd say peace and love would be similar. So I now, if I'm in a confrontation or there's something that I'm not really comfortable with, what would love do right now? I can just change my tone like that. So I think every emotion comes from love. Pain comes from love. Hate comes from love. It doesn't come from the other way around. You can't just go hate to love, love to hate. You can't go from hate to love like that. Love takes time.
Yeah.
But it can, yeah. So I think love was my one, but love falls in with peace. And from an energy standpoint, if you just think, what is moving my energy at the moment?
Yeah.
And what is just kind of surrendered. And the words with surrender is peace, love, equanimity, nature, as you said as well. Yeah. Like that kind.
Yeah, acceptance as well, isn't it? So yeah. Do you feel that there is a movement happening amongst humans that are becoming more aware of a more fulfilling way of living, despite the mechanisms of capitalism, despite fascist dictators acting as democrats? Do you feel as if there's arguably, without being too hyperbolic here, a philosophical revolution?
Yes, I think more people are starting to find what happiness is, and now we know that is possible. Whereas the money, material things, we thought that was the end bit. That's what we strive for.
Yeah.
But I think now we're starting to, because the Western word before, it'd be the Eastern, like the traditional word, it'd be hippies and monks, and it's so far away from us.
Yes.
But now we're just seeing other people living a good life, but like literally there's no drama. They just go with the flow. When you have a choice again, it's like, right, I'm following this one and he looks so stressed. I'm going to take that one. So yeah, I think that the movement is because more people understand, and actually we can live a good life, and that's saying that's life. And like, no, that we can choose how to have our own life. We don't have to say that statement.
Yeah, Yeah, oh man, honestly, there's my biological father um told me once that the full statement of "it is what it is," um the actual the full idiom, if you like, is, because people use "it is what it is" as a thing of saying, shit happens, it is what it is, I can't change it, I can't change anything about it, whatever. The actual full statement is, "it is what it is." um uh, it is it is how I am. It is how it can be designed, and I can design it, or I am the designer. And you can replace the word designer with God as you so wish. And so the actual statement of "it is what it is coupled with "it is what I want it to then be." Whereas people use "it is what it is" as a kind of like, I can't do anything about it. One of the two things I think in my life, and I've had some really, really theoretically challenging experiences in the most recent kind of 5 years, 6 years. And the two things the two superpowers that I've learned in terms of wording and mindset, the first one is to lack comparison. The removal of comparison in my life has been a real superpower. Rather than thinking, well, what have they got that I haven't? What do they look like that I don't? What they wear? And whoever the they is, whether it's your own family or whether it's the neighbor or the ex-boyfriend of your wife, whatever, the removal of comparison. When I methodologically removed comparison, it's like it gave me 25% more energy every day. Like it's like a shot, it's an injection shot. The removal of comparison, that was 25%. And then the other 25% of a kind of like 50% energy boost in the last 6 years, after going through losing everything in business to my business partner, going through a divorce, not being able to see my kids, even though I fought for it, all this kind of stuff. The second thing was an instantaneous acceptance, not a thought through acceptance for 5 minutes of rationalization or a 15-minute conversation to accept it, but an instantaneous acceptance. So something happens and then go, that's what's happened. Now I have this choice of how I respond. And that is like, it's like a magic trick with no cards. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Those two things, comparison and acceptance, lacking comparison and gaining acceptance. Mate, who knew? Why are they not teaching this at school?
And that's the back could fit. I believe that you could change the world if you just took over a school from the development, because they are subconscious and they are like a sponge, but they don't just feed off of words. It's the energy that they feed off. And if you literally reinforce, like, you are always going to be happy, and when problems come, and you just reinforce this stuff. So I have coaching sessions with parents, and like, talk to them now, call me when you need me. Do that when they're 3 years old, because when they're a teenager, they're not listening to you, but at the least their foundation goes, I'm going to call mum and dad. Or when we argue, I love you. And I want you to know that, because when you're a teenager, you will get a teenager say, I hate you. I don't, and that's mostly, I can't imagine what that would be like as a parent to have that. But if we reinforce these good habits now, and parents stop thinking in the moment, visualize what it'd be like at each part of their journey and what your role is as a parent at that point, then you can accept that actually, he's a teenager now, he's moving on. I can accept that. And now I'm going to play a different role.
That's right.
So yeah,
it's funny enough with the kids, when I found that I wasn't able to see my kids as much as, anywhere near as much as my ex-wife and I had actually verbally agreed. This is how the acceptance thing actually kicked in, and it was through my psychotherapist who helped me with this, and we spent a while reprogramming my head in terms of acceptance, and what I then realized, this kind of what I call playing the tape to the end. I thought, at this moment, yes, I could think that I am not going to see my children as much, and that is devastating. I am sad. My life sucks. And actually, as I look around, I can support that with loads of other things. I've put on a couple of pounds in weight. Therefore, I'm not able to see my kids, I'm also getting fat, and I'm also all this kind of choice supportive bias that makes the negative stone in the shoe become a blister, become amputation leg. So when I played to the tape to the end, it was like, well, also another way around is this is a brilliant opportunity to show my kids that I'm also always going to be there for them, even if I can't always see them. And so the hardest thing I need to do is be constantly loving, albeit remotely. And then over a period of 30 years or 40 years, God willing that I'm around for 30, 40, 50 more years into their later ages, they will realize over that time that I've been consistently loving and consistently there for them. So actually my feeling now of not being able to see my kids as much is actually one of an embracing of an opportunity for me to really show them that I love them. And it worked perfectly. And I can now apply that level of acceptance to everything in my life. And it's a superpower.
You just summed up literally how I encourage people to do it, because imagine you write your book and your life is fantastic all the way. It'd be the most boring book in the world. Like, no one. So if we can just think, your past is gone. You can't do anything about it. So like you said, instant accept, it's gone. But what you can do is go in there and take a teaching out of it and say to your little one, this is the pain that I experience. If I was to do it again, this is what I'd do differently. And at least you've given them some wisdom. You haven't told them what to do, but you've told them how much it hurts you. Or as a parent, you are a bit guilty of some of your behaviours in front of them, or you wasn't nice to mummy, for example. But don't hide that from it. Go and take it and go and own it and say, look, I fucked up here. And then be true to your words and say, going forward, this is what I'll be doing. And that's, for me, that's like, it's like everything you do in life. Give yourself a Google review. Yeah. How am I out of 10 stars to here? 4. Okay, how can you make it a 5 next time? Cool, you let it go straight away. That's life.
You know what? One of the things that the reason why one of the primary reasons I'm married to my wife, very, very, very graciously married to my wife, is that she is, without exaggeration, the only adult I had ever met when I met her that was actually purely love. She's a walking epitome of love, just love. She's just love. And everything that she does and says is from position of love. The things that she might sound angry about, which is very rare, is because of how much she loves. And it took me an entire year or longer to deprogram the toxicity of other relationships I've been in and accept the fact that this is someone who doesn't have and I started to look out for the toxins that weren't there. So she would say something from a position of love and I would structure it in my head from a position of hate, because that's what humans do. And then she'd be like, no, genuinely, this is just from a position of love. And I'd be like, no, but it can't be, because, you know, I was with someone for 20 years and most of the things that they said, they actually, you know, and she's like, well, that's not me. I'm not that person. And it's still, even now, I have to keep, so if we ever have a disagreement about something and we spend a lot of time with each other, especially in the last 12 months of lockdown, when we have a disagreement with each other, and this is from a psychotherapist's help as well, and this is why I'm such a fan of coaches in any capacity, that my therapist said to me, the first thought I'd like you to have in your head, if you disagree with your wife, the first thought is, her point is from a position of love. What am I missing? What am I missing here? And then you have to tell her what you think you're missing. You have to do this in the conversation before you come up with your opinion about the fact that you're right and she's wrong. You can do all of that. You're allowed to do that as much as you like, provided you start from the position of accepting that she's from a position of love. And what are you missing that means that you're so theoretically disagreeing? And that has changed everything. And it's actually linked to this acceptance gene. I was wondering, from your perspective, have you found that this new way of living has affected your relationships?
Yeah, There's like my lads group. I don't even go in there now. Like my it's just really negativity, gossiping all the time, like swearing and they're my boy. And like my mate made a statement the other day. He goes, "God, why are you getting always work? Stop working so much and come have fun with your mates." And it hit me. It's like it's more hard work with my mates. I actually love what I do. That is my life. And yeah, that's been interesting. My parents found it weird seeing a new son that's just not reacting and holding the space and stuff as well. So, but the thing is, you said it. If I now be like this for the rest of my life, yeah, they're not used to me at the moment, but after 3, 4, 5 years, they're gonna, oh, that's Harry. If you keep showing up as your best self, like you can be okay with what other people's judgments are because that's who I am, and that's the key thing. Is like, what can I do right now as my best? I'm feeling really bad, but how can I just show up as my best? And that's okay. Again, that feeds back into acceptance.
Totally right.
So yeah, my circles have completely changed. But again, our conditioning, we grow up with our mates and they're our mates. And we meet someone, you have a great relationship. You don't, I'll see you soon. And you don't see them like again, but you had such an amazing talk with them. It's like, keep them in your life.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept. It's like we don't trust them because we just met them, but they're our friends. But every time I go there, if you look at your energy, it does get drained. So my position is now I've got a plan. I'm going to go and get it first. Let me go and do my thing. For 2-3 years, I'll be selfish. But guys, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you, look, this is my life now. This is who I am. But I've now done what I wanted or set out to do.
Yeah.
I keep getting held back. And I've been like, my business is drained me for years. And now I'm finding this is what I want to do. So it's like I'm walking away at some point to do this full time.
Yeah.
And if I can go quickly enough, which I believe it is going that way, I can then help everyone after.
That's awesome. I think it is certainly interesting in the changing of circles. I have become and have, you know, this has been quite a long transition for me into this. As Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction says, that you never really change; you just become more like yourself. So in this journey of becoming more like myself, or rather, as maybe the Dalai Lama would say, I've actually learned to get out of the way of myself. This journey has definitely made me slightly more hypersensitive to negative energy, and that's when the acceptance thing comes in, needs to come in. A few weeks ago, my wife and I were out at dinner, and the owner of the restaurant, who I'd never met, came over and sat down with us because he knew one of her friends, and he was a very low frequency, low vibration guy, and I found it really, really tough, and I had to kind of like just accept, learn, gracious, and it was one of the most challenging things because I've managed to now move my circles around to such an extent where I'm pretty much only experiencing people who are kind and gracious and gentle. And I've got rid of most of the alpha male energy and the alpha female, or actually the people who are overpowering and vicious. I've managed to move out of my life. And so occasionally where one slips through the cracks, it's like, I didn't know what to say, you know, because it's like the whole kind of cursing and comparison thing and the slagging off of his own staff. And I was just like, and then I was like, just accept. Yeah, exactly. So it's tough. It kind of, and if anyone else is watching this and feeling that there's a hypersensitivity, I think that for what I'm learning, however, is that people are different, and that just because someone else is not being necessarily harmonious with you, equally they may be harmonious with other people, and so there's no hierarchy here. So my mental trick, if you like, in fact, my next book is all about these mental flips that we can do using our thinking as a thought muscle. One of the flips that I use in that is thinking that, you know, this guy is probably he's presenting whatever version he would like to present. He's got freedom of will, freedom of choice, freedom of words, freedom of whatever. And what I should do is not judge. I shouldn't say that this isn't my kind of person, or I'm so much more chilled out or whatever. I should actually just be gracious. So what I ended up doing was just basically saying to him again and again and again, apparently too many times, according to my wife, I just kept on saying, listen, it was just a really nice evening. And I'm really, really impressed with what you've done with the restaurant. And I couldn't think of anything else to say. So I kept saying it until it became obvious that I was basically just repeating it. And so what I'm learning at the moment, I'm very new at it, is how to deal with negative people, because my past version was I used to get into business with them or marry them. And so, yeah, I'm retraining myself to deal with negative people in a more gracious way, rather than some kind of nepotistic or almost parasitical way, where I used to latch on to negativity because I thought I could fix them, or B, if they were on my side being negative about other people, I felt that somehow my ego could be stroked by them. And it's really, really negative. And one of the things that I loved about your outreach to me was you sent me a video of you speaking on video, and it seemed so extremely positive and warm, and that was just nice. It was just like, well, yeah, I'd love to have a chat with you. I'd love to find out what you're doing. And to that extent, as we move into our last part of this conversation, what is it that you're doing now? What do you call it? What's the website? What's the whole thing that's going on here? This is your chance to plug, because I think what you're doing is fantastic.
I'll go straight to the plug then. So I've created an experience which I know is going to impact the world, and it's making some big changes. And it only takes people to turn up for literally 6 to 12 minutes, and they literally go on a journey. And I create a space. So it's called Think Future Feel Now. And we're told past, present, future. We're always told be in the now, be present. But there's a flaw to that. If we're stressed, and I'm like, be present, I'm still stressed. I don't know how to get out of it. Yeah. So we need to look at it into two perspectives. One's thought, one's feeling. Your feeling's a true present moment, because I think about my past, but that feeling is now. I worry about my future, and it hasn't even happened yet. But that panic and that worry is inside me now. So it's your feeling that's the truth, and I help people reconnect with it. I think there's two parts to that. We don't express our feelings enough because we worry about what people think. And the second thing is that we've got so much chaos going on, and meditation, got so many thoughts, and I can't clear my thoughts. All that is chaos. What this experience does, it clears the noise. And then your gut feeling, or you said your instinct, I call that gut feeling, or even deeper, that's your soul communicating with you.
Yes.
So if we don't know our future, we can worry about it. But there's an opposite. It hasn't happened yet. We can get excited about it. The future that you actually deserve. So I take you to your future. So think future. I get you to feel every moment of it now.
Brilliant. I love that. And in fact, I think I might call the title of this Thinking Future and the Now. I think that's going to be perfect. Or on thoughts, feelings, energy, and everything in between.
But you said 4 things, and they're big. Like you said, the phoenix, I create an experience with a phoenix. You said a vessel, yeah. I create your own pirate ship, and you go on your own journey as the captain and the destination. You create all of it within this space.
Brilliant. Oh, I lost you there. So do that again. So you got the pirate, you got the vessel, you got the phoenix, you got the vessel, which is the pirate ship.
Nature, I'll put you in your safe space.
Wow. So actually, funnily enough, we seem to have a similarity between the terms we're using, and I assume this is resonating a lot with clients that you're working with. How do they find you? Do they go to a website? What's the way of getting to you?
Yeah, harrythomascoaching.com, Instagram, Harry Thomas Coaching.
Ah, great.
And then new page, Think Future Feel Now.
Great. Is that on Facebook? Yes, it is. So what I'll do is I'll put this on the Academy site, and then you can in the comments, please link as you wish as well, so that people can actually get to this stuff. Harry, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. if you had one thing to say in closing, let's say a signing off thing, if people could only remember one thing, what would you say? What is it?
Like, take 10 minutes out each day for yourself. No distraction. Just be there and just see what comes up for you. And that's it. Your life will change if you did that every day.
I actually believe that to be the case. And it's free to do. And which is bizarre, isn't it? How we tend to buy all these things that theoretically will make us happy because we have to have the newest iPhone 12. Otherwise, we won't be happy. And it turns out that it's nothing to do with the iPhone 12. Yeah, which is why I don't have one. But okay, good. Well, this is awesome. All right, thank you, Harry. I will publish this tomorrow. And for anyone watching, listening, please do reach out to Harry if any of this would benefit you in your life. You know, the Academy of Advanced Thought isn't necessarily a promotional platform. It's a discursive platform. But this, you know, in the least I can do in repayment for your time, Harry, is to make sure that as many people as possible, not just the 1,100 people on the Academy, but also when I share this on Twitter to 60,000 over there and 8,000 on LinkedIn, there's at least some form of publicity that can come from it. And you are doing honourable work, sir. And I wish that more people can find their path in whichever angle they take from those moments in life. And whether it's you helping them or not, at least we can be more consciously aware of ourselves and also our abilities to not be inside a trap of largely of self-construction and have the choice of response as opposed to something that we feel as if been predicted for us. And so, yeah, really brilliant to speak with you.
Thank you for having me as well.
Nice one, mate. And just outside of this video call, because I'm going to press stop and then the thing will jump off the call and it will store. Just decide, you and I should maybe just have a chat next week anyway. So send me your availabilities and let's have a conversation anyway, because I think you're brilliant.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Nice one.
Thanks,
Harry.
Thank you again. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Bye.